Assalamu alaikum. This is Sister Kimberly Kalima Songstress, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Radiant Brilliance Show. The Radiant Brilliance Show was started to highlight the many positive aspects of the different people we have in our communities that are working to make a better world. My topic tonight will be sisterhood in social media. What is it, and how can we achieve it? We live in a country or a nation. I live in the United States of America, so I can only comment on that location, where being the best of something or the only one of something is the achievable goal. There are lots of competitions held in America that focus on this, from the Olympics to different sports championships to the well-known and time-honored tradition of Miss America pageants. Although we should seek our own personal best, and in those competitions that I've mentioned, there is always a winner. One thing that you hear them speak of is even when they've won the Super Bowl, even when they've won a gold medal, a silver medal, or a bronze, when asked about their success, when they're being lauded and championed for being number one or being the best, there's always an explanation that includes a collaborative effort, a communal situation. They thank their team members, they thank their coach, they thank their family for standing by them or friends who encouraged them. They'll think that one person that they met in third grade that they spoke to about their dream that says, you can do it. You can do it. I believe in you. They may never see that person again. But that little bit of effort, that little tiny drop of encouragement went all the way with them to the success that they finally achieved. So I look at it with sisterhood in Islam. There's still competition there. Who's got the best dress? Who's been out of town the most? Who takes care of their house the best? There's just all kind of things that are used to measure people up. And that's good. Competition can be healthy if it helps you determine better ways to encapsulate and amplify your own strength. The negative part is when that best is applied to the whole person and everything that comprises them. For example, you're listening to the Radiant Brilliance Show podcast. I personally am associated with a couple of sisters who have their own podcasts, their own blog talk programs. They are public speakers. They do Facebook Lives. And I appreciate everything they bring to the table. Everyone steps forward with something unique, seeking to compete, to be better than what they bring, what divinely has been given to them by Allah, certain talents and skills that they fine-tune that defines who they are and makes them stand out in a crowd. That's not what you want to do. If you see a sister and she does something relatively well, maybe she's super fantastic, great, over the top, number one in her field. There's got to be something, if she caught your attention, that you could learn from. Instead of taking the opportunity to look all around her and find something that's got to be wrong. She just cannot be this great all the time. There's got to be a flaw that I need to post on social media and drag her down. Maybe she was a public speaker and her outfit was gorgeous, but girl, did you see her hem? Okay? And that's really how it's been going. Her scarf was shifted a little bit to the left. You know, little petty minor things that people use, but you throw enough pebbles and they'll make enough consistent damage to destroy someone and destroy their efforts. And that hurts. A lot of the sisters that we see right now on social media, and there are a lot. I see public relations. I see journalists. I see photographers. I see organizers. They are not just coming on social media for the first time that day and they snap their fingers and were allowed to make everything happen at once. They've put time. They've put effort. They've put money. They've put prayers. They've made sacrifices. They've added so much and consolidated it into what you see. It is not fair to look around all those good efforts that they put forward and find something minor or petty to throw at them to destroy it. Do you not understand that they're also representing you? When someone sees a Muslima who is working her level's best, who is putting all her efforts forward, and she's able to garner something positive, she represents you. For the people that don't know you, you're a woman, she's a woman. You're Muslim, she's Muslim. And in my case, I'm African American. So if I see an African American Muslim sister who is doing it, she is getting it done. I know what goes into that. I know the recipe. I know the times behind the camera, the times behind the radio, the times away from the lectern where she has all kind of thoughts, whether it's a self-confidence issue, whether it's shy and speaking in front of crowds, whether it's the night before her child had 102-degree temperature, whether it's her schedule changed for her hours at her job, whether it's the car hasn't been starting for the last 3 mornings and I had to make all kind of the whole way to make sure nothing went wrong. And I don't underestimate what they deliver. I do not underestimate it. There are so many people who sit on their couches and complain about a lot of the sisters that are actually representing us. They're not doing enough. They didn't speak about this. I heard such and such doesn't get along. Can we sit the reality show TV dramatics aside and appreciate these women for what they are doing? They are bringing another face to Islam, a face that's always been there, but it was kind of in the shadows. They're not accepting that anymore. They're stepping forward for you, for their children, for their community, for themselves, and for Allah. Now, if you step off the scale of social media and we bring it back to our communities, again, these same people exist on different margins, but they may be sisters who organize things in the masjid. They may be sisters who organize things to teach the children. There may be sisters that organize different charity events. They are people just like you and me. Have you tried to work with them? Have you donated your efforts, your time, your money? Have you at least just let someone else know about something good that they were trying to do? Or, in keeping with the scheme of things here in our social construct of destroying someone but not putting anything in its place just to have something to talk about, have you yourself come up with something that is better or you feel like that may achieve more than what they're doing? Have you offered a substitute? Okay, this particular person is just not good at this, but I have something that I've developed and mastered that I would like to present that I believe may be a little bit better. Have you at least done that? Probably not. Have you just seen her on a flyer or watched her speak at a public event and thought to yourself, those shoes look like they're about 10 years old? We have got to stop it. It happens so often, so often. That is not what sisterhood is about. The best among us are those that are kind to one another. We should lend a hand, an effort, or at least a voice. On the other spectrum, if you do know a sister that is overwhelmingly negative, every time you see her, every time she does something, she is just overwhelmed with fitna, with drama, with causing problems, with loving to swim in negative essences. For those sisters, and this is where you kind of moderate yourself and decide how you want to be developed in your life. For sisters that are like that, you can kindly pull back. If you've addressed an issue with them and it's just to no success, after you've done that once or twice, whatever your measure is, you can always just pull back from them, make dua, and then go on your merry way. Unless they're doing something specifically harmful, if it's just someone that you don't like, just re-navigate your circle. Do your own inventory. You're not obliged to sit next to someone or be in the presence of someone who is just ruining, just draining your energy. That's not what it's all about. But if you see them step up to do something authentically good that's going to help other people and also bring a positive face, which is one of the things that we have, but now they're more in focus, lend your effort. You don't have to be their best friend. You don't have to go grocery shopping with them. You can join for positive efforts. What a positive, transformative image it would be to see 3, 4, 5, 6, 11 Muslims joined arm in arm from different walks of life that are contributing their efforts to a consolidated situation to benefit the Ummah. Wouldn't that be great? Our very own super sisters. We have them. We do. We really do. If people would stop concentrating on their personal lives, if people would stop concentrating on the things that they find a deficit in, you would see them. And if your concentration is on where you can find a deficit in this person first, instead of examining what they bring that could uplift the community, uplift the sisters, you may want to check yourself. As human beings, None of us are perfect. You may not know that because you might be one of the perfect people. So nice to meet you. But for the rest of the world, we're all striving. We're all just trying to get there, inshallah. When someone's making an honest effort, you don't know their heart. So please don't assume first they're doing something for show, or they're doing something for attention, or they're doing something to outshine somebody else. You don't know that that's what their intentions are. So please try to think positive of them first if you allow yourself to do that. Examine what it is that they're doing. If it touches you in any particular way, or if you know someone that might be interested in what they're doing, then share or join and leave that there. You're not hiring them for a job. You're not going over their resume. Oh, they want to feed the homeless. Well, let me see if her cell phone bill is overdue, because if it is, I'm going to let everybody know so that we don't get behind this hypocrite. It gets down to the nitty gritty. I congratulate and salute the sisters who have the courage to gather their notes, gather their prettiest kimar, put some gas in their car, and go to these events. They could be at home. They could be chilling. They could be playing in the yard with their kids. They could be tending to their garden. They could be doing their taxes. They could be balancing their budget. But instead, they participate in causes that benefit more than just themselves. More than just themselves. They're contributing to the bigger picture. They're contributing to a legacy that will be left for our children, their children, grandchildren, other adults who are just coming into Islam. We read stories about Muslim women in the past and a lot of the achievements that they reached. And maybe because we're not living in those times, we don't know who couldn't bake a cake very well. Okay. Maybe we're not living 200, 300, 400 years ago, and we don't know who couldn't make a bed very well. And who cares? I mean, who really cares? The ones who care are the ones who really are influenced by the current trend of just dragging someone, of embarrassing someone, not putting anything in the place of what you have called out that you feel is faulty, but just throwing rocks at them and then falling back as other people say, oh, we can do that. Well, let me contribute as well. I think that is to our detriment. There are different times when things are appropriate and inappropriate. And tearing down another sister is just not appropriate, especially in a public forum or someone who is trying to do something good. To come after them publicly if they're not doing some great harm to somebody only because you don't like them personally, that's just not what is done. That is classless. Okay. You can reach out to them on the side. You can reach out to them via inbox or by email. And if they just so decide to give you a moment of their time to tear them apart, then, mashallah, good for y'all. I hope everything works out in that regard. However, we are at a crucial time right now where there are a lot of African American Muslims who are coming to the forefront. Again, we've always been there. We were waiting for our turn to get to the front. Well, a lot of people are taking some really big steps, and they're getting to the edge of that stage on their own. And by that, I mean not without the help of others. I mean without the help of the media pushing them forward. They're going forward themselves. They see a need. They see a gap. They see a deficit in how we're being represented or how our issues are being addressed. It takes a lot of courage to do those things. It takes a lot of courage to gather your resources and say, I'm going to be that person. You know what? I'm sick of this being this way, and I'm going to start something to see if I can turn it around. And if I can't be the one to resolve it, I can add to the path or the journey to resolution. Some people don't care about resolution. Some people like drama. They like having something to talk about. Some people are absolutely invigorated when the conversation starts out with, girl, have you heard about so-and-so? You know that sister at the such and such event? Did you know? I don't get it because it doesn't take away from their efforts. It doesn't take away from how hard they worked. It doesn't take away how many times they've written something or composed something or constructed something, and they prayed over that for direction, for guidance, for everything to go smoothly so their presentation would be okay or their television appearance would be okay. Their guest speaking appearance at a particular masjid or sister's event or conference went fine. This is just not the time in African American history to make every effort that a sister brings forward a paragraph out of the National Enquirer. I just don't get it. I don't get it. There are complaints made that we are not being represented. None of us are on the stage. None of us are being invited to this conference. None of us are on these flyers outside of our own community. We feel left out. We feel dejected. We feel removed. We feel replaced. Where are we? So you have these brave sisters who come forward and say, you know what? We're going to forge forward. We're going to create what isn't there. And so you would think that was the resolution to the issue. Yay, I can turn this on and see someone who represents my story and where I come from and what I'm about. Nope, it doesn't work because we've got to find something wrong. Did she have on lipstick? Did she have on bright colors? Was she knowledgeable enough? Was she too strict? Was she too harsh? We take all the people who are brave enough to come forward and try to make a difference. We take them and we put them all through a strainer that we've made ourselves. So while the general public is looking at these people and impressions are being made, and it's causing them to maybe look at other people who wear kimars and say, I wonder how many more of those people feel the way this sister did, and maybe I've been out of line. Maybe they've been slighted. I'm glad she brought this issue forward in this forum. It's going to make me go home and think. We take that same substance and we push it through the strainer. We get our spatula and we force it through handmade strainers of what we accept and what we don't. And we push aside all the great things this person may have brought forward to rip them into pieces. We take them and we put them over a cheese grater. And it causes some people to think, what can we do to make you people happy? What can we do? Who's good enough? Who's good enough? If we tear down everyone who comes forward, who's good enough? And the surprising thing is, it's not the outside world regarding the people that are non-Muslims or non-Black that are rushing to tear these people down. It's within ourselves. It's our own core. It's what they come out of. That's sad. That is tragic. That's not even crabs in a barrel. That's crabs in a barrel of concrete, okay? Because you knock each other down and you end up staying down. I get it. There are a lot of issues and contributing factors as to why that might be the case. So if you know what the factors are, overcome them. Quit using that as an excuse to say this is why it happens and it's going to always go on. That's not true. It doesn't have to always go on. You can be that one to say, you know what, I'm not going to join in on that fodder at all. This sister is having an event. She's bringing people to listen. Let them listen. Did she make a recording of her message? Was there a transcript that I could share of the things that matter? Let me do that. Let me do that. Not, oh, I saw her flyer. Let me see if there's anyone in her community who can tell me her deficits, who can tell me her weakness, who can tell me her faults. Let me find someone that she's possibly fallen out with, no longer in good social graces, and share that instead. We have got to do better. We need a united front of sisters who are representing the greatest parts of Islam, and that starts with you. You decide. You decide. When that media hits you, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to say, this is great, a great idea, I'm proud she stepped forward? Or are you going to take it and say, who knows her? I think so-and-so knows her. I think I heard about such and such. And that's just on the local grassroots level. That is just not good. We are not in a time where we're afforded the luxury of ripping each other apart. That is just not how it's going to go. But it's definitely going that way. It's going that way. So you have someone who steps out of the arena of their own community. Yay. And then when certain factors in their community hear they had the opportunity, here comes the hate. So then they spread that instead of the opportunity. And the turnout is small, or the comments are negative. And the people who invited them say, you know what, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. They're not driving the crowd we thought that they would. They're not the influence that we thought they were when we first spoke with them and watched them ourselves. It's almost like we go behind each other and sabotage each other. Can one of us make it? Can one of us get there? Can one of us get there and reach back and pull the other ones up? Can some of us kick the door wide open so that enough of us have the room to go through? Or must it be where you go through that door and you shut it behind you? Some of the stories of the sisters who have reached a certain level of being recognized are very sad. where it started out as a well-intentioned idea, and it was really good locally. As they rose and rose and rose higher, and they were known outside of their circles or outside of their community or their state, it became time to destroy them from the very community they came from. While they are out representing, people are working very hard to bring them back down to earth. Who are you bringing back down to earth? When did they leave? When did they leave? When did they rocket off and forget where they came from? They haven't. That's an assumption. When you see people making small efforts, attach yourselves to them early, and you'll be a part of it, and you'll know what's going on, and you'll know how hard they've worked and how hard they've prayed and the things that they've sacrificed to represent you. A lot of people don't pay attention, and they see someone on a larger stage, and not physically stage, but when I'm saying a larger stage, I mean a larger perspective of being viewed by people outside of their general circle. And they say, how did she get there? Who does she think she is? She must think she's better than sister such and such and so and so. Oh my goodness. Why do you think that? Do you think she's better than such and such and so and so? It's like high school. It's like junior high. And we are not in a place in history as we know it today to be able to have that kind of fodder and recover from it. This is very integral. Right now, it's a situation that we've been waiting to come about for a long time. Why aren't we harnessing it? Why aren't we grasping it? Society has a lot to do with it. And again, I live in America. I can't comment on any other nation. I've never lived there. But just because it's the current social trend doesn't mean that it's your makeup, unless it is. I ask you to perhaps fall back and do some introspection. Look at yourself. Why are you drawn to the posts that tear down public figures that are representing yourself and other Black Muslims? Why are you more drawn to that than an article about perhaps some of the achievements or collaborations? Why? That might be where you start. And once you resolve all of those issues, take a moment to think back. Do you have things that are important to you? By this person stepping out and being accepted, it opens the door for others to do the same. Could this be an opportunity? Is this someone you need to follow or get to know and perhaps learn and then launch your own campaign of sorts? That's a positive to come out of it. Some of the sisters that we see that are doing various things on social media, we don't know them personally. We read their posts, we see their comments in different groups. We may not live in the same city or state or attend the same masjid, but our first assumption should not always be negative. We should give them the benefit of the doubt that they've worked very hard to be where they are and see what they're talking about. And if it's someone you choose to support, you can do that. If not, you can walk away. It's like an anti-campaign where either you're lending energy and efforts in support of someone or you're lending energy and efforts to drag them, to tear them into pieces, to dismantle what they've put together. I'm very sad that that is what is in style currently. There are lots of strides that we could be making together. Muslims and social media, to me, are a novelty because the larger media, the grander media, has painted us as several types of blind thinking, hell-bent, anti-American people. And it's assumed that that's how we all are because a lot of people don't want to get to know us. It's not even about having the chance to do it and they don't. They just don't want to because of what they've been fed. And so here come a lot of the sisters. And then here comes the anti-campaign. And it takes me back again to what I mentioned previously. We complain that there's no one representing us. There's no one that we can relate to. And then when these people come along, we put them through a sieve and break them down to little pieces where nothing of them has any type of value. We have got to do better. We've got to do better regarding sisterhood and social media. Social media is one of the fastest ways to get your message across to a lot of people at once. It simply is. And it's also one of the fastest ways to spread something negative to launch your anti-campaign. I just want us to take a look at ourselves and see why the anti-campaigns are so appealing to us. Is it really that the need to shade supersedes the need for growth? Is that really the case? Because if it is, we have lost ourselves somewhere along the way. And again, no one is perfect. I'm not saying that the women that you see have no faults whatsoever. I'm not saying that the women that you see set the standard for all of us. That's putting a big heap, a big responsibility on one person who's brave enough. That's a big responsibility to put on them. And again, I know how it is in our society. You can only have one of everything. You can only have one. And I get that. I understand the importance of that leader, of that face. But oftentimes it's a collaborative effort. It's a virtual application of either good or bad that can trickle down to reality. This has been Kimberly Kalima, host of the Radiant Brilliance Show podcast. I thank you once again for tuning in and supporting my recent monologues. My podcast can be found on Podbean, the radiantbrillianceshow.podbean.com. It's also found on Instagram and Facebook under The Radiant Brilliance Show. You can also enter the website www.theradiantbrillianceshow.com. At any rate, I thank you so much for tuning in, and I'd love to hear your feedback. So you can reach out to me on Facebook or on the Podbean site. Let me know what you think. If you have any other topics I could introduce or you'd like to hear discussed. Also, if you'd like to be interviewed for my program, send an email to guestinfo@trbs@gmail.com. Thank you again for letting me into your cars, into your homes, into your headphones. And here's to better communities and a better world. Assalamu alaikum.